What you are about to see is a work of fiction. It is not real. However, it is intense. This cinematic dramatization is intended for mature thriller fans, exploring psychological tension, unsettling imagery, and adult themes. Inspired by theories and popular stories, this short piece is purely fictional, created for entertainment and creative expression. Viewer discretion is strongly advised, as it contains strong language and disturbing scenes. This is not a real event, nor does it promote violence or misinformation. It's a journey into dark storytelling. If this piece resonates with you, please like and share to support more bold, short thrillers. Your feedback is invaluable and helps shape what we create next. Thank you for watching.
For over 700 years, the Vatican has quietly guarded one of the darkest secrets in human history. A sealed pit beneath Houska Castle, where 3 immortal Crusader knights have been locked in an eternal battle against a dragon prince of hell. According to forbidden Vatican archives and suppressed testimonies, the knights were fused into a stasis field after shattering the rings that bound 3 fallen angels. Their sacrifice froze time itself, preventing a demonic breach that would have reshaped our world. But something has changed. A new crack has appeared in the granite slab covering the pit. The stasis field is weakening, and for the first time in centuries, the sounds of battle are bleeding through the stone. Hidden documents, leaked reports, and ancient eyewitness accounts all point to one chilling truth. The battle never ended. The dragon is pushing back, and the Vatican is running out of ways to contain it.
Father Voss, what exactly did the Vatican uncover?
They released files on the only castle ever built to keep hell from escaping.
Most fortresses defend from outsiders. This one's walls face inward, because the threat was already inside.
So the church built a fortress around the pit and filled it with monks trained to fight, not preach.
Eventually they sent the 3 forsaken knights.
But even that failed.
The pit became a prison. Condemned men were offered a choice: death or being lowered into the abyss. Those who chose the pit came back aged 50 years, hair white, eyes bulging, screaming about fire, wings, and something whispering their names from below.
You're telling me this was a gateway?
The deepest levels were sealed with a granite slab carved with forbidden warnings.
The monks wrote one final line before abandoning the castle.
And what was that?
Do not face the walls outward. What's down there must never leave.
Where did this pit even come from?
In order to explain this, I will have to start from the beginning.
Before the mountains were carved, before the oceans withdrew from darkness, before even the stars learned to burn, God shaped a new being from clay. Adam, dust gathered by divine hands, mud molded with intention, spirit breathed into matter. And then the command, bow, not in worship, but in recognition of God's newest creation, made in his image and gifted with will. Billions of wings folded, all but one, Lucifer, the morning star, brightest of the host, forged from smokeless fire. He refused. I am greater, he declared. Fire does not bow to clay. Pride cracked heaven. Lucifer's form twisted, expanding, darkening, erupting into the shape that Scripture would later call the Great Dragon. Wings of flame, scales like obsidian, a crown of molten horns. The first war began. Revelation 12:7-9 became history. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The skies ignited, stars shattered. Rogue angels plunged through the firmament like burning meteors. Michael struck the final blow. Lucifer fell, plummeting into the young earth, tearing open a wound in creation itself. And at the edge of that fissure, Michael descended, carrying the divine artifact forged from God's own authority, the Aegis shield. He slammed it over the cosmic wound. Lucifer screamed as he was sealed into a prison between worlds, a dimensional fracture where time twisted and eternity suffocated. This was the first pit, buried, forgotten, dormant, until a crusader pried the ancient seal loose. The forest didn't smell of pine or wet earth. It smelled of ozone and copper, like a thunderstorm that never broke, mixed with the metallic tang of old blood. Sir Benedict rode at the rear of the column, where the silence was heaviest. His destrier, bred for the heavy cavalry charges of wars long finished, stepped nervously over blackened roots of the Bohemian woods. The deeper they rode into the valley north of Prague, the thicker the air became. It pressed on the lungs, as if gravity were pulling not down, but inward, towards something that should not exist. Ahead of him rode his brothers in damnation. Sir Alaric, the bulwark, was a mountain of black steel. Over decades of cursed service, the plate had begun to fuse with the flesh beneath. He didn't ride his horse, so much as crush it into obedience. At the front, Sir Cadogan, the torch. The air around his helmet shimmered like a mirage. The metal of his visor was always warm, his gauntlet never fully cool. There was a furnace inside him now, and it was always hungry. They were the Forsaken, monsters sharpened by a church that preached peace in daylight and sent them into the dark at night. The hidden blade of Rome. The birds, Alaric rumbled at last. His voice sounded like stones grinding in a quarry. They have stopped singing. Benedict said nothing. He could not. Consecrated gold wire stitched his lips together in a crude X, upper and lower lip pierced and bound. A necessary cruelty. The entity bound into the onyx ring on his finger, Malthus, spoke with a voice that could break minds. Silence was Benedict's penance. Silence was his prison and the world's protection. They crested a ridge. Houska Castle stared back at them. It was an architectural blasphemy, a limestone scar on the cliff face. Benedict had seen fortresses from Jerusalem to Acre, but never one like this. No trade routes, no river crossing, no farmland, no water within miles. It was not a castle built to protect anything. It was a castle built to sit on something. And the walls were wrong. Every arrow slit, every crenellation, every killing gallery was turned inward toward the courtyard, as if the architects had expected the enemy to already be inside. It looks like a prison, Cadogan muttered, reining in. Heat from his armor had dried the sweat under his straps to crust. It is a lid, Alaric said, and we are here to sit on it. The gate was not guarded by soldiers, but by robed men in obsidian silk, the cult of the serpent. The Vatican called them specialists. The knights knew better. Heretics on a leash. The iron portcullis groaned open. As the Forsaken rode into the courtyard, the temperature dropped like a falling stone. Not winter cold, vacuum cold. Sound seemed quieter inside the walls, like someone had thrown a blanket over the world. At the center of the courtyard lay the reason this place existed, the pit. A jagged wound in the limestone, 20 feet across. A rough scaffold of timber and a hastily set granite slab covered most of it, like a clumsy scab over a festering wound. The air above it rippled. Benedict watched a dry leaf fall from the battlements. When it drifted over the open segment of the pit, it vanished for a heartbeat, then reappeared as gray dust. Malachi stood on the upper balcony, looking down. A voice called, oily and amused.
Gentlemen.
The Black Pope's right hand. He wore a cardinal's crimson robes, but pagan jewelry coiled his throat, a silver serpent swallowing its own tail.
You made excellent time. Rome truly does send its best dogs.
We are not dogs, Cadogan growled. The ring of Astaroth on his gauntlet flared with a molten pulse. We are the janitors. You made this mess, Malachi. We clean it, or we burn it.
A mess?
Malachi spread his hands.
No. A revelation. Observe.
Two cultists dragged the young man toward the pit. Shirt torn away, wrists shackled, eyes wild. Dungeon muscle from Prague. He kicked, begged, invoked every saint he knew, but desperation never impressed the serpent. The cultists hauled him to the edge. A winch, iron chain, and ankle shackles waited. What is this? Alaric demanded, hand drifting to his warhammer.
The archives say this pit is a doorway to hell. We believe it is more complex.
A bridge, not just to a place, but to a time. Benedict felt Malthus stir in the marrow of his bones.
Lower him.
Malachi commanded. It opens. It hungers. The chain clanked and squealed. The thief dangled over the darkness, sobbing. "In the name of God!" he screamed.
God is not here.
Malachi replied.
Drop him.
The chain rattled through the winch. The boy vanished into the black. The Forsaken watched. 1 second, 2, 3. "Raise him," Malachi said.
You barely gave hell a taste. You expected to spit anything back? Watch.
Malachi whispered. The winch strained. The links that had gone down black and oiled came back up orange and crumbling, like they'd spent years in salt air. Then the shackles cleared the rim. The man hanging there was no boy. The hair was long and white. The skin parchment thin, liver spotted, stretched over bones. Ribs jutted like cage bars. The body trembled with the effort of simply existing. An old man, 80, 90. His eyes were milk white, but wide with horror. "The light," he croaked. His voice sounded like dry leaves crushed underfoot. "The geometry, the angles, it doesn't add up. Years, decades, 40 years in the dark. I saw the throne. I saw the dragon."
40 years?
Alaric stepped closer.
He was down there for 3 seconds. Time dilation.
Malachi breathed, eyes shining with fanatic joy.
Below the crust, time doesn't flow like a river. It falls like a waterfall. For us, a moment. For him, half a lifetime in the waiting room of hell.
On the chain, the old man convulsed. "They are coming," he whispered. "I told them where the door was. I traded the door for water." Malthus screamed in Benedict's skull. "He has invited them." The ground shuddered. Not an earthquake, a knock. Something enormous had just struck the castle from below. "Raise the defenses!" Cadogan roared, sword clearing its sheath in a hiss. Flame crawled along the blade, igniting in a sheet of black fire.
You fools. Do not understand. The door isn't breaking. It's opening.
A beam of green necrotic light shot straight into the clouds, turning the world sickly emerald. The green light didn't illuminate the courtyard. It infected it. Stone walls turned the color of bruised flesh. The air pressure dropped so fast, men staggered, ears popping, eyes watering. The torches along the walls burned sideways. Then the sound came. Not a roar. It was 1,000 voices screaming in a tunnel, layered over the grinding of mountains. A dam of hate breaking. "Form up!" Sir Alaric bellowed. His voice was the only solid thing in a world melting into chaos. He slammed his tower shield into the cobblestones, sparks jumping in all directions. "Back to back! Do not let them flank us!" Cadogan didn't wait for shapes to emerge. He attacked the wound itself. He thrust his gauntlet forward. The ring of Astaroth pulsed. "Ignis!" he roared. A column of black fire roared into the pit, hot enough to soften stone. For a heartbeat, the screaming below shifted to sizzling, then went silent. "Did we?" A cultist began, somewhere above. "You cannot burn a fire that has been burning since Genesis," Benedict thought.
They are not climbing. They are falling up.
The black flame turned green, corkscrewed, and was sucked back down. Then something hauled itself over the rim. It was vaguely humanoid, but wrong. 2 long arms ending in hook-like fingers of obsidian. Translucent skin showed pulsing black veins. Its head was a smooth oval with a slit of a mouth that opened far too wide. Worst of all was the movement. It didn't walk. It stuttered. One instant it was at the rim, the next it flickered, 10 feet closer, as if frames of reality were missing. "Time distortion," Alaric warned. "They're moving faster than we can see." The thing lunged at a cultist who had been too shocked to run. The man didn't even scream. One swipe, and he came apart into red mist. "Engage!" Alaric roared. The Battle of Houska exploded into full madness. Alaric met the first legionnaire head-on. He let the hook hand crash into his shoulder. Fused armor held. His warhammer swung low and sideways, smashing into its torso. The impact echoed like a cannon. The creature cartwheeled back into the pit, but 3 more climbed out in its place. Cadogan became a storm of fire. He abandoned his sword, both hands weaving nets of flame. Smaller imps ignited wherever his fire washed over them, leaving twitching shadows burned into the stone. Benedict moved like smoke. Malthus sharpened his perception. He saw the next frame before it happened. A legionnaire flickered toward him. He stepped aside a hair's breadth, its claws missing his throat by an invisible margin. His twin silver daggers, forged from Judas's coins, slid into its eyes. The creature disintegrated into ash before it could finish its scream. On the balcony, Malachi leaned over the railing, not in fear, but fascination. "Remarkable," he murmured. "The longer they remain out of the pit, the faster their temporal velocity increases." "Drop the secondary seal," Cadogan shouted up at him. "Malachi, now! We can't hold this breach!"
You are correct.
Malachi called back. "You can't," he smiled.
Correct.
It was a priest's smile, with a serpent's intention. "The shield of Michael is gone. The granite slab is failing." He lifted his serpent ring. "We need a new plug, something dense, something with a soul powerful enough to choke hell's throat." Benedict's guts clenched. He didn't need Malthus to understand. "Traitor,"
Drop the gate.
Malachi whispered. A grinding rumble rolled through the walls. The iron portcullis leading to the outer bailey crashed down, sealing the inner courtyard like a tomb. The Forsaken Knights, a handful of monks, and a few unlucky cultists were trapped inside. Archers on the walls drew crossbows. They aimed not at the demons, at the knights. "Cowards!" Alaric roared, charging the portcullis. His hammer dented bars, thick as a man's wrist, but the gate held.
You won't have time to break it. Look behind you.
The smaller demons had stopped their rush. They scuttled up the walls and clung there, leaving the center clear. The pit vibrated like a plucked string. Green light darkened to rotten purple. Stone cracked. A hand the size of a carriage rose from the abyss, plated in scales like black diamonds. Claws dug into the courtyard rim. Granite turned to powder under its grip. "A prince," Cadogan whispered. His fire guttered. "One of the 7. The head that followed was not a beast's. It was a dragon-shaped intelligence. Horns like twisted obelisks. Eyes like twin coals that had watched empires rise and fall. Its muzzle split in a grin that had nothing to do with humor. Its voice bypassed ears and spoke directly into their bones.
Traitors, you wear our brothers as jewelry. You will suffer for eternity.
The rings on their hands, Astaroth, Behemoth, Malthus, throbbed with panicked, trapped fury. Malachi laughed over the rising psychic pressure.
Die well, knights.
"Your souls will buy us another century." Benedict looked at the gate, the dragon, his brothers, the cultists raising their bows, the pit opening wider under the prince's bulk. No escape. He slid his daggers back into their sheaths. His hands rose, trembling, to his face. Fingers found the cold gold wire that sewed his lips shut. Malthus screamed, "Do not. If you speak, we all die. The power will tear you apart." Benedict met Alaric's gaze, then Cadogan's. No words, just the promise in his eyes. "It is the only way." Alaric's jaw tightened. Cadogan's shoulders squared. "Then," Alaric said, "let us make a noise heaven will hear." Benedict hooked fingers under the wire. He pulled. The sound of gold wire tearing through flesh was quiet, wet and intimate against the backdrop of the end of the world. Benedict gasped, a ragged groan torn from a throat that had forgotten speech. Blood filled his mouth, hot and metallic, dribbling through the gaps and down his chin. The snapped wires clinked on stone. The dragon stopped rising. Those burning eyes narrowed, focusing on Benedict. It knew. Vows carried power. A vow of silence, kept for 20 years, broken in front of a hellmouth? That was a bomb. Benedict opened his mouth. He did not scream. He did not pray. He spoke a single word, from the language of unmaking, a command older than starlight. "Kneel!" Reality cracked. The courtyard floor did not simply shake. It shattered. Visible lines spiderwebbing through space like broken glass. Sound inverted. Lesser demons collapsed into instant dust, bodies turning to black fog. Cultists dropped, clutching their heads, ears bleeding. The dragon roared, not in rage but in pain. The command of Malthus riding Benedict's ruined voice pressed on its skull like the weight of a collapsed mountain. Joints buckled. Claws gouged trenches into stone as it fought against the word. On the balcony, Malachi fell to his knees. Blood poured from his nose. "Impossible," he stuttered. "A mortal vessel should have broken. No flesh can channel that voice and live." Benedict looked up at him. Then he vanished. He did not leap or run. He simply wasn't there. And then he was, standing behind Malachi on the balcony, armor steaming, air rushing to fill the void he'd just vacated. Malachi spun, serpent staff raised. "I command you!" Benedict backhanded him. The casual blow shattered bone. Malachi flew over the railing, limbs flailing. He fell into the pit. "You wanted to feed the void," Benedict's voice boomed, his own overlaid with something inhuman.
Now be the meal.
Malachi vanished past the dragon's skull, swallowed by green light. His scream cut off mid-note as time caught him and stretched that last second into an eternity of falling. Down in the courtyard, Alaric and Cadogan clawed themselves upright. "Benedict!" Alaric shouted. "The command is fading! Look!" The dragon straightened. The crushing weight of the word kneel lifted. It shook its head, scales rattling like armor. The light in its throat grew brighter, coalescing into a sphere of condensed hellfire. Benedict vaulted from the balcony, landing between his brothers in a controlled crash of steel. The three Forsaken stood, shoulder to shoulder, facing a god-level extinction event. "We have no weapons left," Cadogan coughed. His gauntlet hung limp, ring cracked. "My fire is gone. My armor is broken," Alaric grunted. "My body is not much better." Benedict looked at the pit, at the dragon towering over them, at the three rings on their hands, now pulsing violently. The fallen angels inside, sensing opportunity, clawing at their cages. "We don't need weapons," Benedict rasped. His vocal cords were shredded. Every word came wrapped in static. "We are the weapon." Alaric understood first. His eyes dropped to his ring. "The overload," he said. "If we tear down the containment wards, it will vaporize us," Cadogan whispered. "Body and soul. No heaven, no hell, just nothing." "Better oblivion than slavery," Alaric said. "For the order?" Benedict met his gaze. "For the silence." The dragon unleashed its breath. A river of molten annihilation roared toward them. At the same instant, the three knights slammed their gauntleted fists together. Release. They did not simply tap the power in their rings. They broke them. Astaroth, Behemoth, Malphus, three fallen angels, unbound in a single point in space. Physics failed first, then time. There was no explosion, no fireball, no sound. There was a flash of negative light. The world briefly inverted, whites turning black, reds to cyan. Every color screamed in reverse. Then everything at the center of the courtyard was pulled inward. The dragon froze mid-roar, hellfire trapped in its throat like molten glass. The knights froze mid-stance, fists pressed together, armor beginning to disintegrate, expressions unreadable behind their visors. A bubble of frozen space-time formed, flickering invisible, then locking. Inside that microscopic instant, three knights, three fallen angels, and a dragon prince locked in eternal collision. Outside, silence. The green beam vanished. The pit stopped screaming. Torches steadied. In the Bohemian woods beyond the walls, birds fell dead from the trees without knowing why. Date, October 31st, 2025.
Houska was never a fortress. It was a plug, a castle built to keep something in, not out. The ancient archives give two possibilities. That the White Knight returned a second time, not only to free the Forsaken Knights, but in doing so, cracked open the gates of hell once more. Or that the Knights are still trapped in that suspended instant, fused to the three fallen angels through the shattered rings, with the Dragon Prince of Hell himself acting as the last barrier between our world and the abyss beneath the pit. Not guardian, not prisoner, but the only thing still holding hell back.
What do you think happened?
I think hell is already here.
Vatican security cameras were never meant to be seen by the public. But tonight, the truth leaked. In December 2025, surveillance teams monitoring Houska Castle, the ancient fortress rumored to be built over a gateway to hell, recorded something crawling out of the sealed pit beneath its foundations. A 1,000-year-old Templar Knight from the First Crusade, on camera, dragging himself back into our world. Why did he return now? Why does his armor glow with symbols that predate Christianity? And why are Vatican officials scrambling to bury this footage before anyone asks the real question? What followed him out of the pit? Welcome to the Forbidden Black Vault, the place where the church hides what it fears the most. Subscribe for more leaked files, Vatican conspiracies, lost relics, and mythological investigations. Turn on notifications. The next breach could happen any moment.
How the hell does a Knight Templar from the First Crusade show up on Vatican CCTV in 2025? From literally 1,000 years ago. And that of all places, the Houska Castle, the one they call the Gateway of Hell, I always thought that was just some kind of medieval ghost story, not an actual surveillance breach.
The stories were never myths, they were warnings. Houska Castle wasn't built to keep intruders out. It was built to seal something in. 1,000 years ago, a Templar Knight followed an ancient tablet across continents to a cave buried beneath the Bohemian wilderness. There, etched into the stone floor, lay what he believed was a divine relic, the shield of Archangel Michael. And by lifting that shield, he didn't just claim a holy artifact, he broke the first seal.
Wait, so the whole tourist attraction story, folklore, the legends, the harmless myths, that was never the truth. It was the cover, a way to hide what was really sealed beneath the castle.
Let's not act like you're new to cover-ups. The CIA and the Dark Department didn't just inherit conspiracy, they perfected it.
I can't argue with you on that. Wait, pause the video here. He enters alone, but he doesn't leave that way. 3 other knights follow behind him with black armor, glowing crimson crosses silent as tombstones, and they're emerging from the same pit he once sealed. Something's changed. These aren't the radiant protectors you would expect. They look like warriors forged in darkness. If they came from the pit, who's to say they're still on the side of heaven? Why would the White Knight open it again? Was it part of the plan all along? Or has prophecy twisted? Because if ancient Templar warriors are walking out of hell in 2025, then the Dark Department better wake up. This isn't just a Vatican problem. This is a national security threat.
The winter of 1100 came early. Snow whipped across the stones of Jerusalem, as though God himself was scouring the city clean after a century of blood. Godfrey of Bouillon, defender of the sepulchre, first ruler of the liberated city, stood alone in the citadel's excavated lower chambers. Not even his most trusted knights knew he came here. The chamber smelled of dust, cold stone, and something older, something that did not belong to earth. Torches flickered. Shadows recoiled unnaturally, bending away from a slab of midnight black basalt rising from the chamber floor. No tool had cut this stone. It had been grown, or summoned, or left behind by something ancient. Godfrey brushed dirt from its surface. Symbols glowed faintly beneath the grit. Not Latin, not Greek, not even Hebrew. The carvings pulsed like veins filled with warm, molten gold, and at the center, a handprint, human-shaped, pressed into the basalt as though someone once touched it when the stone was still molten. Godfrey felt heat rising through the rock, a heartbeat weak but unmistakable. He did not pray, he listened, and the stone answered. A whisper bled into the air, vibrating through the marrow of his bones.
Oilon, descendant of the first oath. The seal weakened.
Godfrey staggered back.
Who speaks?
The torches dimmed. The chamber fell silent. Then, light erupted from the basalt. Gold and white spiraled upward, threads of brilliance coiling into a towering shape, tall, winged, crowned with a corona like a sun halo torn apart and reforged. But the face was hidden behind shifting shards of light, as though reality refused to show its true form. Godfrey fell to one knee, not from reverence, from pressure, as if standing before a mountain. The being spoke without mouth or breath.
The first pit stirs.
You must finish what they could not.
Why me?
The being extended a hand. A shield materialized above its palm, forged from impossible metals, silver, gold, and a shimmering material like compressed dawnlight. Runes encircled the rim, glowing in a rhythm that matched 2 distinct heartbeats.
The Aegis shield, forged from divine authority. You will wield it. You will close the wound.
The shield drifted toward him. Godfrey did not reach for it. Instead, he rose to his feet, eyes fierce despite the pain racking his chest.
I refuse.
Silence, perfect and absolute. The being's wings dimmed.
Explain.
My men have died in wars they never understood. My brothers starved so we might free this city.
If I vanish into a legend no one remembers, who will protect them?
You misunderstand. This is not a request.
Light shattered. A spear of brilliance slammed into Godfrey's heart. He screamed. Visions tore through him. A black castle in a forest that should not exist. A pit that breathed like a living throat. A serpent of obsidian rising from a wound in the world. 3 nights centuries later, shattering rings of power. A dragon frozen in stasis. A slab cracking beneath moonlight. And himself, the White Knight, stepping out of a bubble of warped time. Then darkness. The torches extinguished. The basalt slab dimmed to silence. And Godfrey of Bouillon lay on the floor, breathless, trembling. Godfrey jolted upright, breath sharp in his lungs. The angelic being, if that's what it truly was, had vanished without a trace. No voice, no light, no wings, only silence, and the feeling that something eternal had just ended or begun. He glanced around the cavern, disoriented, but then he saw it. At the base of the black basalt slab, where once there had been only stone, now rested an ancient tablet, weathered but intact, its surface etched with intricate lines, symbols, and celestial arcs. Godfrey approached slowly. As his fingers traced the markings, his heart began to race. It was a map. Not of this land, but of distant mountains, ruined abbeys, ancient roads half swallowed by time. He recognized them. Europe. Thousands of miles away. Familiar landmarks. Forgotten monasteries. Sacred sites he'd only seen on crusade. The map hadn't been there before. He wasn't dreaming. Whatever had happened here tonight had left him with a purpose, and the first step was marked in stone. Godfrey left Jerusalem within the week. The doctors said exhaustion plagued him. His commanders believed he traveled to negotiate alliances. The clergy claimed he sought relics. Only one man knew the truth, and Godfrey had left him behind, shackled by fear that the church would silence anyone who learned what he carried inside him. The radiant imprint burned into his palm. By day it lay dormant. By night it pulsed. 3 beats, like 3 hearts, synced with something moving beneath the world. The visions haunted him. A castle with inverted walls. A pit like a wound from the mouth of eternity. A serpent's shadow reaching across centuries. He rode northward through the broken spine of Europe, cutting across Byzantine trade routes, then Germanic forests, always following the invisible pull guiding him closer to the visions. The nights grew colder, the forests darker, the animals quieter. He reached Bohemia in late autumn. Fog choked the valleys, clinging to the hillsides like ghosts reluctant to rise. Locals warned him of the cursed hollow ahead, a place travelers avoided even in daylight. There is a hole there, one man whispered at an inn, not dug by hands, but by something climbing out. Godfrey asked the name of the place. No one dared speak it. The valley felt wrong the moment he entered it. The sound died. Birdsong vanished. Even the wind refused to move through the pines. The world held its breath. Godfrey dismounted. Frost crunched underfoot, though the air wasn't cold enough for it. His breath steamed faintly, not white, but a pale gold glow escaping his lungs. The mark was waking. Already, he whispered. The trees ahead parted not by breeze, but by gravity, as though something pulled everything inward toward a central point, toward a scar. He walked. A raven watched him from a crooked branch, unmoving, as though frozen in time. Godfrey touched it gently. Its feathers were pliable, warm, alive, yet its body did not react, did not blink. Reality was thinning. He pushed deeper into the valley until the land suddenly dropped into an unnatural sinkhole nearly 50 feet across. A perfect circle, perfectly smooth and perfectly silent. This was the place in his visions. This was the first pit. Except now, centuries before Houska's castle would be built atop it, the pit lay open to the winter air, unguarded, exposed to the world like a wound left untreated. Godfrey approached the rim. The air below rippled like heat rising from desert sand, except it was cold. A cold that felt not like temperature, but like absence. There was a spiral staircase. At first glance, it seemed crude, primitive Gothic. But as Godfrey descended, he realized it wasn't carved by human hands. It was etched from the bedrock, as if melted into shape by something ancient, something divine, or not. Each step spiraled deeper around a crater, not a chasm. This was no natural formation. Something had fallen here, not from the sky, from the heavens. At the crater's bottom, he found the floor laced with glowing glyphs, pulsing faintly beneath centuries of dust. And at the center, the Aegis, the shield from his vision, embedded in the stone like a seal upon the world's wound. A voice returned, the same voice from the dream. No language, only meaning.
Commit, peel it from the earth. Fulfill what was written.
But something else stirred within him, hesitation, as if the shield had been placed there to hold something in, not protect something out. Still, he obeyed. He jammed the tip of his sword beneath the Aegis and pried. A pressure seal hissed. Then, detonation. The ground exploded with a supernatural force. Godfrey's body was hurled upward, cast from the pit like a broken arrow. He slammed into the stone above and crumpled beside the rim, motionless. The Aegis landed beside him, inches from his hand. In the silence that followed, he heard it, a groan from the crater. Something was climbing out. The voice returned.
The shield. Become what you must.
The ascension. His fingers brushed the Aegis. Light erupted. His bones snapped and reformed, not in pain, but with divine purpose. The shield's energy poured into him, threading through marrow, nerve, and soul. His hair bleached white, growing long, flowing like silk in slow motion, ageless. His eyes ignited, blazing celestial blue, alive with power he could barely comprehend. His armor melted away, replaced by segmented silver-white plate that grew across his frame like living scripture. A new helm sealed over his face, smooth, bone-shaped, with a grinning jawline below and glowing slits above. A death mask of a sainted executioner. Every rune on his new armor shimmered. Ancient glyphs of angelic descent burned into steel. Shoulder pauldrons widened, etched with warnings from forgotten tongues. Time itself warped around him. Then came the voice, final and cold.
You are no longer Sir Godfrey. You are the White Knight. Guardian of the Seal. Prisoner of prophecy.
As he rose, floating an inch above the earth, the Aegis snapped into place on his forearm. Its surface came alive, rings of glowing blue light spinning slowly like orbits around a celestial core. At its center, the skull emblem burned with divine fire, pulsing like a beacon. His sword, still the same, unchanged, mortal. A reminder of the man who once was. But the presence he now carried was not of this world. Godfrey stood, no longer a man, but a sentinel of prophecy, reborn in armor not forged by any blacksmith, but written into existence. And behind him, from the pit, something else was still rising. Something moved beneath. Then, a sound, not a growl, not a breath, a dragging, as if claws scraped against stone far, far below. A shape climbed. Long arms first, 7 feet long, segmented, ending in talons of smooth, polished obsidian. Then shoulders, too wide for the pit. Then a head, bulbous, eyeless, crowned with a ring of fractured bone. The creature hauled itself upward, dripping with a substance like molten night. Its movements made no sound. Its presence made no sense. The first pit had birthed something that should not exist. Godfrey braced behind the Aegis shield, and the world erupted. The demon surged out of the pit in a blur of broken geometry. One moment, it was coiled beneath the rim. The next, it occupied 3 positions in the air at once, its form glitching through space like a candle flame inside a spinning mirror. Godfrey raised the Aegis shield. The shield consumed the impact, not deflected, absorbed. A blast of unnatural force rippled outward, flattening the grass in a perfect circle 40 feet wide. Trees bent backward as if a giant hand swept above them. The demon hissed, a sound like stone cracking under ice. It struck again and again. Each blow landed seconds before it visibly moved. The creature was sliding forward through pockets of time, faster than the world could render its steps. Godfrey's boots dug trenches in the dirt. The shield burned gold. His bones vibrated. His strength failed. It would break him. So he shouted the only thing that rose instinctively from the mark, seared into his hand.
Michael!
Light detonated. A column of white gold erupted around him, not descending from the sky, but rising from the earth, as if the ground itself remembered heaven. The demon recoiled, its body convulsing, sections of it freezing in separate positions as the temporal field shattered around it. Godfrey felt a presence behind the light. Not a figure, not a voice, but an authority, ancient and terrifying and patient. The shield shifted in his grip. It grew heavier, sharper, hungrier. It wanted to be used. He surged forward. Godfrey struck first. The Aegis shield, normally a defensive artifact, became a weapon. When its edge connected with the demon's torso, reality cracked. Not the creature, reality. A thin seam of white light split the air, and the demon's torso folded inward, as if collapsing into a different dimension. It lunged in retaliation, jaws opening sideways, revealing a second set of teeth forming inside its skull. The bite missed his throat by inches. He slammed the shield upward, crushing the lower jaw. Bone shards flew like obsidian shrapnel. The demon staggered. Then it shrieked, not in pain, in signal. From the hole beneath them came movement. 4 limbs grabbing stone. 6, 8, dozens. Shapes rose. Some humanoid, some crawling like broken spiders. Some hovering inches above the ground, twitching through patches of stolen time. The first legion of the pit. They swarmed the walls, the trees, the earth itself. Godfrey tightened his grip. Then come, he whispered, and they did. They struck him from all sides. Claws raked his armor. Voices screamed without mouths. Time fractured in shards around him. Each blow stole something, a heartbeat, a second of memory, a sliver of warmth, a piece of courage. They took everything they touched, but the shield of Michael gave it back. With every strike he deflected, he felt the same 3 heartbeats pulsing inside the artifact. Not his own, not Michael's, something deeper. Something connected to a future he could not see. The shield throbbed. A command rose in his mind, not spoken, but imprinted. S-E-A-L. He pivoted and slammed the shield edge first into the ground. Light roared outward. Not a beam, a wave. The creatures evaporated into dust, their bodies collapsing into streams of black ash, sucked back toward the pit like smoke into a forge. The main demon, the firstborn, shrieked and lunged for him. Godfrey threw the shield like a disc. It struck the demon's face, and a white explosion tore through the valley. When the glow subsided, the demon was gone, folded back into the fracture that birthed it, deep into the stone floor of the pit. Exactly where Michael had once driven the Aegis into the earth, sealing the wound between realms, Godfrey now stood. The valley fell silent, utterly, as if the land itself held its breath. Godfrey dropped to his knees, not in reverence, but in exhaustion. Ash clung to his armor. Blood traced lines down his face, and the air shimmered around him, laced with fragments of time itself, like frost from some other era. He had done it. The first horde of hell was repelled. The shield, once again, held fast. But the price was clarity. The seal had been broken, and the shield, powerful though it was, had only delayed the inevitable. This was not the end, merely the beginning. One gate had opened, others would follow, and when they did, someone would have to stand between the world and the abyss. That someone was now him. No longer just Godfrey of Bouillon, but the White Knight, a living extension of Archangel Michael's will, wielding the divine shield once forged in heaven itself. But with that power came doubt. Was he still his own? Did he act from free will? Or had the divine voice merely claimed a mortal pawn for prophecy? He did not know. He only knew this. Though he lacked the knowledge to reseal the pit, he would not abandon it. If he could not close it, he would guard it. And so he began, stone by stone. With bloodied hands and divine strength, he built a fortress, a tomb, a citadel above the scar in the world. Not to keep something out, but to keep something in. And for 100 years, touched by the slow passage of time and divine intervention, he did not age, he did not rest, he built. Until at last, Houska Castle rose from the earth. A warning, a prison, and a promise. So long as I stand, hell shall not pass.
I thought that place was guarded by Godfrey, the White Knight. It was, but something must have happened for him to abandon his post. Almost 2 centuries later,
The Forsaken Three gave everything to stop what crawled out of that pit. Then the White Knight vanished, and the church assumed it was over.
Assumed. That's comforting. Why the hell did he come back?
answering the call of his brothers.
You told me they sealed the Dragon Prince.
They did, at a terrible cost. They sealed themselves inside the exact moment of their victory, frozen in a single slice of time. Guardians and prisoners, all at once.
So why reopen it? Why now, especially knowing you are opening the floodgates of hell for a second time?
Because the ground beneath other gates is shifting. Other pits, other fractures. The war never ended, we simply stopped looking.